Hello, my little hypno buddies. Welcome back to Chaos Head Noah. Well, this is once again Future Psy'Min, traveling back in time to the beginning of this episode from the end of the episode, because I played the whole Kusunoki Yua ending all the way from start to finish, and then had to figure out where to cut it, and I cut it where I cut it. So if you've seen the first half, we're going to carry on with the second half, and I'll just have my thoughts at the beginning of the next episode, like I did with the Nanami bit. So, we will go ahead and carry on. Enjoy the episode. Don't you want to eat? Did she get us something? Yua's tone was as ice cold as ever. As I was still sitting, she lowered her gaze down to my feet. A plate had been placed in front of her. How do you expect me to eat that? It was a plate full of pasta. Tarako spaghetti. What the hell is Tarako spaghetti? Served with a finely cut seaweed garnish. Where did you get that? However, it had already been sitting there for around 2 hours, so the pasta probably was all dry and sticky by now. Yua had made it for me. She'd tied me up and left without saying a word, then came back about 30 minutes later with a heaping plate of pasta. It would seem she'd gone to the supermarket, bought the ingredients, then cooked them into a pasta for me outside of the container house. What was she plotting by making me a home-cooked meal? I think she's just trying to keep you alive, dude. I couldn't wrap my head around it. She could have just bought something that was ready-made at the convenience store. Oh, okay, fair enough. Maybe she'd poisoned it. The thought made me want to stay as far away from it as possible. Dude, if she wanted you dead at this point, you'd be dead. Besides, it wasn't like I could eat it even if I wanted to. My hands were tied up and the plate was at my feet. You can have it. Remembering that Yua's stomach had growled, I gave that sarcastic retort. I don't plan on torturing you physically. Yet. I'm simply waiting for Shogun to come out. So please, eat. It will be problematic if you don't. Eat. Do you really think I can eat in a situation like this? Don't be ridiculous. You gonna feed us? Yua stood up, walked up to me, and then she crouched down next to me. I looked away in fear, still holding on to the hope that she'd untie the rope coiled around my hands. But of course, that wasn't what happened. Instead, Yua picked up the plate, struggled to twirl the dry as hell sticky pasta with a fork, and then once she finally managed to, she held it out to my mouth. Here. No. I'm not eating that shit. Okay, open wide, say ah at its variants were events that you could only experience in eroge. This was real life. When things were this tense, all her feeding me did was highlight her murderous intent all the more. At least untie me if you're going to do shit like this. At least if I was untied, I could pretend to eat some and go, yep, this tastes like shit, take it away, Kay, thanks. But here I wasn't even afforded that. Shall I warm it up in the microwave? Ew, warmed up pasta? Can you do that with pasta? Ugh. I just said I'm not going to eat it. I thought about knocking the plate out of her hand with my knee, but if I did that, she'd definitely get pissed and there was no telling what she'd do next. The thought sent chills down my spine, so in the end, I decided to hold back the urge. Please understand, Nishiji-kun. I'm doing this not just to protect everyone else, but to save you, too. I never, ever wanted to hurt you. The fuck are you talking about, you? Are you stupid? You want to die? Who the hell did she think she was? She wanted to save me? Sure, it was true that Nuja and Shogun and all that stuff scared the living shit out of me, and that I desperately wanted someone to save me. But that someone was clearly excluding Yua. I never asked to be subjected to this crazy bitch's delusions. I want to go back to the other ending. That was much better. Eat. Eat, even if you have to force yourself. There was cold pasta twirled around the fork. Yua shoved it toward my mouth. Here comes the airplane. You can eat, can't you? Yua moved even closer, still glaring at me to no end. Say something about an airplane. Do it. Eat, please. Eat. Suddenly, Yua stopped dead in her tracks. Why did this bitch come closer and closer every time she got mad? I kept looking away and clamped my mouth shut. Why did she stop? Is someone here? She must have been insane if she thought I'd ever eat something she made. I'd end up with fucking food poisoning. Come on, how do you screw up pasta? An hour or so had passed, my stomach was still growling. I was so scared that I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Eat. Tabe, now. Didn't I tell you to eat? Eat. Yua was still crouching down next to me, staring at me, and she was still trying to shove the pasta down my throat, too. She had stayed there the entire time in the exact same position. Eat. Please eat. You need to eat. Eat. This woman is like the John Wick of anime characters. Just sheer fucking will and focus and determination. When she decides to do something, she's doing it. I want you to eat. Eat. Eat it. Eat. Just eat it. It's safe to eat. Eat it up. Eat. God, she is relentless. She just kept on making her demands in a series of low murmurs, refusing to do anything else. I had a feeling that another hour had passed by already. I was so creeped out I couldn't even lift a finger. I was petrified. I was a deer perpetually stuck in the headlights. She hadn't hurt me or anything, and she hadn't forced me to eat the pasta either. And yet somehow I felt more and more afraid of Yua with each passing moment. Can't Shogun see this? He's got to send Rimi over for an intervention and just be like, okay, you can talk to Shogun. Jeez, leave the poor guy alone. She was simply waiting for me to eat and nothing else. And yet I was still scared shitless. A normal person would have given up after about 5 minutes, but not Yua. Yua had kept at it for over an hour. If this were a normal version of this kind of thing, Yua would pull my hair, force my mouth open, and scream at me to eat it, you scum! But she didn't, so I didn't have the slightest clue what the hell she was thinking. She was a total freak. She was broken. No sane person could do what she was doing. She wasn't human. She couldn't be. I'm scared. I'm scared. I was at rock bottom. I wanted to kneel down and beg for her forgiveness. My entire body was covered in a thick, disgusting sweat. I was enduring so much anguish mentally that I could hardly breathe. I didn't know what to do. I'd never had a girl stare at me from this close and for this long before, but who the hell has? If we were a couple having some lovey-dovey conversation while we rubbed our noses together or some shit, that'd be fine, but no. No. You had just kept on repeating the same shit over and over again like a broken goddamn record. But this broken record never stopped fucking glaring at me. How is this even real? Eat. Eat it. Eat now. Eat, please. Hour 2. Eat. I couldn't deal with her gaze on me any longer, so I dared to squeeze out a single word. My voice had gone hoarse. Fine. Finally! There, that wasn't so hard, was it? Yua's murmurs stopped. She remained completely still in the same posture as before. I think my legs are asleep. I forced my mouth open. I nervously ate the pasta that she had been trying to feed me for over an hour. Yeah, it's pretty damn cold at this point, I'd say. My mouth was already dry to begin with, and eating this withered pasta definitely didn't help. It just sucked away any remaining moisture I had left. Come on, get some Alfredo sauce on that. I couldn't bear the taste, so I almost didn't chew it at all as I choked the pasta down. Your cooking sucks. Yua blinked a few times, surprised to see me actually eating. And like a statue come to life, she started moving again. Oishii. Does it taste good? No. No, it doesn't taste good at all, I thought to myself, but there was no way I could say it to her face. So I just gave her a weak nod instead. Again, how do you screw up pasta? I'm glad to hear it. Despite what she said, Yua still had the most deadpan expression on her face. I couldn't detect even the slightest bit of happiness. She moved the fork back toward the plate she was holding, and with it she picked up another clump of the dry, sticky pasta and held it out to my mouth once again. Did I really have to eat all of it? Was she not going to let me go otherwise? Give me a break already. Tears started flowing from my eyes. I couldn't hold them in anymore. I was just too scared. And yet, no matter how hard I cried, Yua just didn't seem to care. She would keep on doing this until I finished the entire plate. So I ate, tears endlessly streaming down my face, and she kept on feeding me that dry, shitty pasta. By the time I'd finished all of it, I was both physically and mentally exhausted. Are you full now? You're full, aren't you? You should be full now. Good. Then the time I spent making this for you was worth it. In contrast to what she said, Yua's tone was cold as ice. Then at last, she took a small step away from me, placed the plate on my desk, and sat back down on the sofa. After sitting down, she looked in my direction and went right back to staring at me. And as she stared, she stopped moving. Don't look at me, damn it. Please stop looking at me. I did nothing but chant those words over and over inside my head, but I couldn't say them out loud. I was too scared. Was she really going to monitor me for an entire day? This was straight up psychological torture. Just the mere thought of it made me even more depressed. Why are you doing this? I was crying now, but I couldn't help but ask that. I needed to know. What did I do to you? My younger sister died. Huh? Younger sister? For a split second, Yua looked like she was about to cry, only to quickly reassume her ice-cold expression. She was one of the group dive victims. We were twins, and she was the younger one. Her name was Mia. I'll never let the murderer who killed my sister get away with it. That's the promise I made to myself. Meanwhile, Sue was just skipping down the street somewhere, and then I found you. I learned about your suffering. I want to find out why my sister was killed. I want to know the truth. I want to know why the culprit, why Shogun killed her. And I also want to save you. Please understand. You understand, right? You should understand. I'm sure you understand. I thought back to the video of the group dive that had been uploaded to YouTube. Had one of the crying victims in that video been Yua's younger sister? I knew full well what Yua was going through. The same kind of thing had happened recently with Nanami, after all. But that didn't mean I could forgive what she was doing right now. This crazy bitch had broken into my house, tied me up, and now she was holding me captive. Yeah, no way in hell could I ever feel sympathy for her after all that shit. How is this going to end exactly? I completely lost track of time. My room had no windows, after all. I had no way of telling what time it was. What does whose eyes are those eyes mean? Why did you have the people you were about to kill say that? Why was it left as a dying message? What were you trying to convey? Usually I just check the time on my phone or my PC, not that there were any other ways to do so, but since I was still tied to the leg of my bed, I obviously couldn't use either method. The only chance I got to check the time was whenever I went to the bathroom, but even then it was a pretty small window. But the longer this torture lasted, the harder it got for me to get up and use the toilet. I simply didn't feel the urge to piss, likely because I wasn't drinking enough water. It felt as if I'd been deprived of all psychological phenomenon for over a day now. Why Darth Spider? Why indeed? What were you trying to accomplish by wearing that character's helmet? Does it bear some kind of religious significance? Nope, just bad cosplay. Do you aspire to be an anti-hero? Or do you just want to make a mockery of public opinion? You practically didn't move an inch. She simply continued sitting on the sofa, standing up every once in a while only to sit back down right after. And her muttering hadn't stopped the entire time. How was she still talking after this long? It wasn't like I could kill time on my PC, nor could I make any calls or send any messages. I couldn't even sleep. All I could do was sit there and be assaulted endlessly with questions. Yua's mumbling was starting to sound like a mantra or something at this point. I couldn't stand being watched for this long. Sure, I had to cope with Shogun reading my mind and the sensation of being observed by the gaze, but while those things did suck, I could still at least stomach them. But I wish I could say the same about Yua's unending watch. Her gaze was so utterly devoid of any emotion or warmth that it genuinely felt as if I wasn't even there. Like my very existence itself was constantly being ignored, if not outright denied by her. Regardless, the point is that I knew nothing about what was going on in the outside world, and I couldn't, as long as I was tied up. I had lost all perception of time. I didn't know how many days had passed since I'd been tied up. I take it back. Sue is not skipping down the street. He's sending angry email after angry email again. I had a feeling that 2 days or so had gone by, but it sure as hell felt more like a month. Being deprived of my freedom of movement was really stressful. Every minute of however many hours had passed, I would think to myself, I need to look at a clock. That was the sole thing on my mind.
それとも
Or perhaps... That's weird. Still JoJo pose, but her expression changed. Yua's head suddenly tilted. She took off her glasses and rubbed the eyelids that occulted her bleary eyes. She was only human, I imagine, so she was finally starting to get tired. She hadn't caught a wink of sleep the entire time, after all. Maybe she should have thought this through before doing it. She was just wasting her time. Nothing would come of any of this. This never would have happened if she'd have just listened to me.
いつ出てきてくれる
When are you going to come out? Her whispers were practically delirious. Come out. She must have still been talking about Shogun.
どうしたら出てきて
How can I
くれる
get you to come out?
出てきてよ
Won't you come out? Unfortunately for you, he won't come out no matter how much you plead because he's not there to begin with.
待ってるから
I will keep waiting. I will wait. Finally fell asleep. When silence took over the room once more, Yua's body slowly tilted over. And she's out. With all her strength gone, she fell to her side on the sofa. Has she fallen asleep and her batteries finally run out? I breathed a sigh of relief and all the tension in my body released along with it. It hadn't had even a single moment to relax the entire time she'd been staring at me, and now that she wasn't, I could finally take it easy for a bit.
タッキー何のんきなこと言ってんの
Taki, why aren't you using your noggin here? Saratan's voice rang out from beside my monitor.
逃げるなら今がチャンスなんよ
Isn't this your chance to skedaddle? I would love to.
それどころかさ
Maybe you could even turn the tables here and tie her up instead. She's completely defenseless. Number 1, we're tied up. Number 2, she has our key.
そしたらやりたい
And then you can do...
ボケなす
Saratan, shut up. Oh, I see. So I can degrade her and train her into becoming the perfect sex slave. I see what you're... I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay, clearly you haven't been tortured enough there, Takumi. Yua was still lying on the sofa, so I took a nervous glance at her face. To be honest, if I ignored everything else, her sleeping face was actually pretty cute. It reminded me of when we first met, that gentle smile she'd had. I obviously didn't know what Yua had really been thinking back then, nor that she'd seen me as a murderer. If anything, I saw her as an enemy, as one of Shogun's underlings. But it was her fault for making me think that. She was the one who deceived me, who betrayed me. So if I wanted to degrade her and turn her into my sex slave, this bitch had no right to complain. What's that anime redo of Healer? Is that what we're about to do here? Okay, good thing I'm actually grateful you're tied up. You can stay there, actually. I peeked at Yua's sleeping face once more. Her eyelids twitched erratically, and her face contorted into a pained expression. Then, from the corner of her eye, a single tear ran down her cheek. Could she be having a nightmare about her dead sister?
タッキー調教師ないの
Taki, aren't you gonna make her your slave? Shut up, Saratan! After seeing her shed a tear like that, I'd already lost the drive. Also, I'm still tied up.
監禁されて禁縛されてる
Even
のに
after she had you all locked up and bondaged up. Oh, Taki, you're so noble. So kind, too. Heck, too kind.
そこはタッキー
That's one of the things I love about you, but maybe you should think about doing away with all that just this once, considering how perfect the opportunity is. That's not what I meant. Of course, I wasn't going to forgive Yua that easily. I just didn't have the strength to be angry with her, nor to even resist at all. It was just all gone. Completely sapped. Was it because of the huge release and tension? Or could it have been because she told me about her little sister? We still have a little sister we need to rescue. We need to remember that. It didn't really feel like Yua wanted to hurt me or anything, weird as that might sound. Suddenly I was struck with an intense drowsiness. And so I surrendered my body to the feeling, allowing myself to forget, if only for a moment, the pain my bound wrists were being tortured by. I'll think of a way out of this later. What are you tied up with again, exactly? As soon as I woke up, I knew something was off, like something was missing. Yua? Still half asleep, I looked around my room. I tried to stand up, but the rope coiled around my wrists dug in deep, so it's just a rope, and the sheer pain stopped me in my tracks. The pain immediately reminded me that I was tied up, and the one that had done so was Yua. Oh, Yua wasn't here. Yeah, there we go. So that's what had felt off. I was the only one in the room. Where had she gone? Had she gone to make food or to use the bathroom? I didn't know how many days it had been since Yua locked me in here, but what I did know was that neither of us had been to school the entire time. We only went outside to use the bathroom or cook something. I wasn't even allowed to take a shower. I let out a heavy sigh. Yua should come back any minute now, and when she did, she'd start watching me all over again. Had Yua always been this stubborn? Or was it the hatred and regret she felt from her sister's death that made her start acting this way? Regardless, how could I make her understand that I wasn't Shogun? Maybe I could show her the messages Shogun had sent me, if they were still on my PC anyway. But let's be honest, we were long past that. Yua was fully devoted to the delusional bullshit she'd come up with. I doubt she'd believe me even if I did show them to her. To be fair, I did actually think of that. And the very first time we ran into Yua, she showed us those messages of us conversing with Shogun over the chat room. So she would just claim that we sent the emails to ourselves. That's not going to convince her of anything. I needed something more concrete, something to convince her that Shogun and I were two completely different people. If only he would just show up here, then there would be no denying it. That'd kind of suck for me if that happened, though. I didn't want him anywhere near me. And besides, if he came to my base, he'd probably be to kill me. Come on, Taki. You've got to hightail it out of here. How am I supposed to do that? I'm still tied down. I can't stand watching this judgmental, violent stalker girl bully you like this. Thank you, Sarah. But I can't run. I can't untie myself on my own. I'd obviously already made my fair share of attempts to escape, but my struggle had proved futile. Yua's knots were tight, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't even get them to budge. If only I was a 3D girl, then I could just come on down and rescue you right away, Taki. I don't know, as great as escaping sounds on paper, Sarah, I think just doing whatever she says like I've been doing so far is the safest option. I don't know about that. If I tried to escape and failed, it can make Yua go berserk. Whenever Yua lost her temper, it was crazy how scary she got, so I was going to do everything I could not to provoke her. Wow, you're really taking your time to think of the best way to keep your head on your shoulders, aren't you? You're so amazing. But, you know, I really don't want you two staying in the same room for much longer. Oh, Saratan's getting jealous of us. This isn't exactly a romantic interlude here, Saratan. Also, you're not real. As much as I hated to admit it, as long as I was tied up, I was entirely dependent on Yua to survive. Luckily, she hadn't been violent with me at all yet. She'd even cooked for me and let me use the bathroom whenever I asked. She was still treating me like a human being. And I was sure that once she finally understood that no matter how long she waited, Shogun wouldn't come out, she'd let me go. Hell, even better, I was sure she'd beg me for forgiveness. Of course, I'd make her get down on her hands and knees, or else what'd be the point? And while we're at it, I could move on, Fuhihi. And then it'd all be forgiven. Yua would go back to her own life, and I'd go on with mine. She'd never see me again, and I'd never see her again. So at the very least, the Yua threat would disappear completely. Or if I was very lucky, there was even a chance that she would have a change of heart and end up joining my party. Delusional son of a bitch indeed. Shogun was still real and very much a problem. So Yua could step up and replace Remy as my protector. It'd be better than nothing. Yeah, Remy, where's Remy during all this? We even had some common ground. After all else, Yua resented the new gen culprit, therefore Shogun. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yua's interests and mine coincided. Foohee, I'm so smart. I'm kind of a genius, to be honest. You're not. You're really not. Yep, you're a bona fide genius, Taki. You know, keep this up, and I might just fall head over heels for you. And so I decided to ride this storm out. Yeah, I don't think Yua's gonna admit defeat anytime soon. Okay, where the hell was she? Yua still hadn't shown any signs of coming back. It had been a good while since she left, too. I know for a fact that at least a few hours had passed, probably. Where in the world had she gone? Sure as hell wasn't the toilet. I could also rule out that she'd been grabbing dinner, since there was no way it would have taken this long. Every time she'd gone out to buy us food, she just went to the nearest supermarket and come back shortly after. So where was she? Had she gone to school? I didn't even know what time it was right now, but if it was around noon, then it was certainly a possibility. If I could have just looked at the minimum attendance chart, then I would have been able to know what day it was instantly. It would have told me a lot, really. For example, if you had kept me locked up for 3 days straight, and the first day had been Friday, that would explain why she'd been able to stay here and not go to school. Besides, because it had been the weekend. In other words, today was Monday and you had gone to school. That had to be it. It had to. What day had it been when you had broken into my room again? My consciousness was already foggy as all hell, so I couldn't remember. But what if she hadn't gone to school? What if she'd gone back home, for example? These days, every slut in high school would stay out overnight without asking their parents. But Yua wasn't like that. No, Yua is not like that. Don't call her a slut. Even if she had gotten permission, staying over at my place for who knows how many nights would have definitely made her parents worry. So knowing that, she'd gone back home maybe to pacify them, probably. That made a lot of sense, actually. Well, regardless of where she'd gone off to, she had to come back eventually. So it'd be in my best interest to stay put and conserve my energy. Letting out a small sigh, I closed my eyes. Might as well get some sleep. Man, we are just here. This is our route. This is the crate route. I couldn't sleep. I closed my eyes and tried my hardest to doze off for hours on end, but I just couldn't manage to. I ended up just staring at the door, torturing myself over whether or not Yua would come back. Nanami's going to come back for a survival check, and we're not going to be alive. Also, Nanami is still captive. There was a bit of a windstorm going on outside, so the door rattled faintly every once in a while. Whenever it did, I would immediately open my eyes, thinking that Yua had come back. But no matter how many times I thought that, she still hadn't. I was left all alone in this container, tied up like an animal. Since she was taking her sweet time, I decided I might as well try to break out of the restraints on my wrists. The rope that bound me to the leg of my bed was made of nylon, which was why I thought that maybe with enough force I could break free. And so I poured all my strength into my arms. You're a pretty weak boy. I think you're just going to cut yourself. Man, imagine that he just didn't figure out he could just lift up the bed and just move the nylon out from under the leg. But it was no use. The rope didn't even budge. Or maybe I was just too weak. Yep, definitely the latter. After all, I was a pretty big weakling in general. An otaku freak that did nothing but play Vidya and surf the web all day long. There was no way I could have broken that cord like some kind of movie protagonist. Tearing the cord with just arm strength alone was obviously impossible, so I tried to think of some other way. Obviously, it would have been really easy if I had a knife or something, but unfortunately I had no such luck. The only things I could see around me were magazines, manga, CDs, empty boxed lunches, that kind of stuff. It's no use. I was hopeless. I couldn't even snap a single piece of nylon string on my own. Yua's coming back, right? I unintentionally voiced those thoughts out loud, meaning I was basically talking to myself. Hey, Taki. I've been thinking, have you now? What if she abandoned you? Abandoned me? As in Yua had left me here to rot? As in she wasn't planning on coming back? If that was all true, I was screwed. Surely she hadn't just tied me up and expected me to survive on my own, right? If you're going to lock someone up, then you should realize you're responsible for them until you let them go. Come on, that was just common sense. No, she couldn't have abandoned me. I was overthinking it. Yua was definitely going to come back. She still hadn't uncovered Shogun's true identity, so surely she wouldn't give up yet. Yua would never abandon me. This is fine. Hey, Taki, did you know? This kind of thing's called Stockholm Syndrome. Yes, I obviously know what Stockholm Syndrome is. But you're wrong. This isn't like that. My brain isn't dependent on Yua or anything. As if I would ever warm up to that mental case, let alone fall for her. Okay, but didn't you just think a few minutes ago, I know what Yua must be going through? Something similar happened with Nanami, after all. Come on, Taki. You know you can't hide any of your illusions from me. That is true. Was I lying to myself? Was I just forcing myself to believe that I could trust Yua? Maybe I was. Stockholm Syndrome was a psychological phenomenon in which people deceive their own selves for the sake of survival. We mentioned it half a dozen times, and now you're adding it to my tips? What else could I do in this situation? I had no other choice. I had to rely on Yua. Remy had backed out, and Nanami hadn't come to check on me for a very long time. Nanami has her own problems. Also, you have her hand. My parents let me know when they were worried about me via Nanami, but they never actually checked on me personally. And the only other person that I knew that lived in this container was Yua. Or the only other person that knew I lived in this container was Yua, which means the only other person I could rely on was also Yua. Therefore, I had to lie to myself. It was the only way I could survive. Remy knows you're here, and technically Senna and Kazupi know you're here because they followed you after the whole Crunchy-kun incident. I didn't want to die. I didn't want you to mistreat me, and I didn't have the courage to resist her using force. So that was why I decided to just submit. I wouldn't resist, and then if I waited long enough, eventually she'd understand. That was the only way an otaku freak like me would be able to survive. I would trust in Yua. I would trust in her by lying to myself, and then I'd make it out of this without anyone getting hurt. Come on, Taki. You and I both know you can't trust this four-eyed stalker girl. I know you're a real nice guy and all, but this is taking it a step too far. For the first time in my life, I completely ignored what Saratan had to say. So please come back soon, Yua. You're coming back, right? Finally. Where were you? And then it happened. Without warning, the door burst open. It caught me completely by surprise, and I immediately froze. I could finally see outside. The sky was dyed orange by the setting sun, and there, obscuring my view of it, was Yua. I was relieved from the bottom of my heart to see her there. Realizing that I hadn't been abandoned nearly made me cry tears of joy. I was a little disgusted with how easily I'd been tamed, but my disgust was immediately overshadowed by the intense feeling of relief. Welcome back. I had no one else, so I was forced to be dependent on her. That was why something so fucking stupid had somehow come out of my mouth. But what? What? Whoa, hey! You're a hindrance, Nishiju-kun. Well, this is a change in tone. Huh? Yua quickly walked over to me, crouched down to meet me at eye level, and then she grabbed my hair and yanked on it hard. Well, what's up? A hindrance. If only you didn't exist. Then Shogun would come out. Why do you exist? Have some self-respect. Let him take the reins for a while. There's no point in talking to you. You aren't the one I want to talk to. Bring him out. Bring out Shogun, now. Yua was acting weird. No, this is as weird as she was acting before. She just seems to have found her second wind. Was she getting impatient? Because Shogun wouldn't come out? Did that mean she was going to resort to more drastic measures? Uh-oh. This wasn't what I'd planned. I'd believed in her. I trusted that she wouldn't go berserk on me. Was she about to betray me again? Who am I kidding? I'm the only one who feels betrayed. I was forced to face reality. I had decided to place my trust in Yua all on my own. She had never asked me to, not once. Had I just been naive? It was because I was an otaku freak and a shut-in too, wasn't it? I knew pretty much nothing about human interaction because of those things, so tricking me was like taking candy from a baby. Agreed! Agreed. No argument from Psy'Min. If I was right about this, then I'd been right about everything. Nothing good could come from 3D. It was time for me to become a real shut-in, but this time, I'd locked myself in the 2D world. Look. Yua thrust something in front of my face. It was a notebook of some kind. This is my little sister's diary. Oh yeah, this. I went home to get it. Once you read this, you'll finally understand. You'll understand that even since before the group dive took place, you, no Shogun, was already targeting Mia-chan. Yeah, I still need an explanation for this too. Ever since before, She was being stalked. The goal of the group dive wasn't to kill the 5 of them. The other 4 were simply collateral. The real target was Mia-chan, and Mia-chan alone. Oh, really? Isn't that right? Is that going to tie into why they potentially switched places in the fast food restaurant? Did Mia-chan have a concern? I'm right, aren't I, Shogun? Answer me. Come out and answer me, now. Yua's voice was getting more and more hysterical. My fear of her had come back full force. My heart was beating out of my chest. My entire body trembled. Have we looked at the diary yet? But even so, I still couldn't accept what Yua was accusing me of. It was just a bunch of delusions she'd come up with, nothing but pure falsehoods. I had never even met Yua's sister. I desperately shook my head from side to side, but she grabbed my hair so tight the pain kept me from moving very much. You still don't intend to come out? Yua's face drew even closer, close enough to whisper in my ear. And then she brought the diary even closer to my face. Wait! 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 Whoa, 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 whoa! Time out. Back the truck up. Look at the pain you put Mia-chan through. Yua's diary? That doesn't say Mia's diary. That says Yua's diary. Okay. She forced me to look up. Then, while still holding the diary with one hand, Yua started dexterously turning the pages. And what I saw written there sent a chill down my spine. But the cover, though. The cover. What is this? What the hell is this? This is the last page of her diary. The last thing Mia ever wrote. Whose eyes are those eyes? The date? September 6th. The very day before Mia died in the group dive. It's Shogun! He can read people's minds and control them! What do you mean he can read people's minds and control them? Surely you don't actually expect me to believe that. Surely not. She was being stalked. By Shogun. By you. I'm not Shogun, I swear! Shogun exists inside you. But I just told you that's not true! Shogun is someone else! Shogun is Nishizu Takemi. Enough excuses. I have proof that you were the first one to write Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes. It was in an essay you wrote when you were younger. That is more than enough circumstantial evidence. But again, how would she know about this even if we were stalking her? That doesn't explain why she wrote it. You're the only one it can be. The only one. It wouldn't make sense otherwise. You killed my sister. That's not true. That's not true at all. I don't sleepwalk and I don't have multiple personalities. Shogun does exist, but he isn't me. He's someone else, I swear. Are we going to talk about the cover of that diary? What comes to mind? What comes to mind when you look at this diary? The cover! Satisfaction from pushing my sister to the brink? From killing her? Satisfaction from pushing my sister so close to the brink you made her write this? Why did you do such horrible things to her? Why did you kill Mia? Why? You're wrong, Yua. Everything you say is wrong. No, you're wrong. You committed murder. You killed her. Murderer. But this diary, yeah, isn't it yours, Yua? Isn't this your diary, Yua? It's got your name on it. What? Wait a minute, what? What? Yua looked puzzled. It stuck out to me like a sore thumb ever since I'd first seen it. Yeah, same to Psy'Min. What was written on the front cover? Yua's diary. At first I thought I was just mistaken or something, but Yua had said exactly whose diary she thought it was.
妹の日記です。
This is my little sister's diary. But if it was her sister's diary, shouldn't it have said Mia's diary?
これは
That's Yua's diary.
表紙に
It's written right there on the front.
何言ってるの？
What are you talking about? Yua deliberately avoided looking at the front cover.
これはミヤちゃんの
This is Mia-chan's.
死んだミヤちゃんの
The diary of my dead sister, Mia-chan.
あなたに殺されたミヤちゃん。
Mia-chan, who you killed.
ミヤちゃんのなのよ。
I need to say this 5 times. It's
ミヤ
Mia-chan's.
ちゃんが書いた。
Mia-chan wrote it.
死ぬ前に書いた。
Before she died, she wrote it herself.
だったら
I'm telling
ど
you,
うしよう。
look
見てよ
at the front cover. Time to shove it in her face. Terrified, I nervously pointed at the notepad. How? Your hands are behind you. Without showing a hint of hesitation, Yua closed it and took a look at the cover. And when she did, she turned back toward me and said,
やっぱり
Just
ミ
like
ヤ
I
ちゃんの
thought.
日記だわ。
It's Mia-chan's diary. Oh, well, okay, she has gone psycho. Huh? She must have seen it just now. There was no way she hadn't. Yua's diary was right there, written in bright red marker. So how had she...
これはミヤちゃんが書いた。
This is the diary Mia-chan always wrote in.
私を騙そうとしたの。
Were you trying to deceive me?
騙されるわけないで
You
しょ。
could never, ever deceive me.
私はミヤちゃんとずっと
I
一緒
spent
に
every
育ってきた
waking
んだ。
moment alongside Mia-chan.
生まれてからずっと一緒だ
We'd
った
been
んだ。
together ever since we were born.
あなたなんかよりずっと
I know Mia-chan
私の方
better
がミヤちゃん
than
の
you
ことを知ってる。
ever will.
知ってるの。
I know her.
ユアには
Can you
見えない
not
の。
see it, Yua?
はっきり
It's
書いてあるじゃ
written
ないか。
right there.
それはユア
It
の
says Yua's diary. Yua's hands suddenly shot up to her temples. Her face was warped in pain.
違う。この日記
You're
は
wrong.
私じゃなくて、
This diary isn't mine.
Mia-chan.
It's Mia-chan's.
私。
Mine?
西条くん。
What if she's the one with the multiple
自覚があるは
personalities?
ずないから。
After all, you have no way of knowing, Nishiji-kun.
あなたは
You
DID。
have
多重人格な
DID,
んです。
multiple personalities. I mean, you having DID doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense because then who died in the group dive? Who are you? Unless Mia developed a Yua split personality out of grief for her dead sister.
私は
I'm
ユア。
Yua.
私は
I'm... Could it be that I'd never been the one with DID? It had been Yua all along?
楠木ミヤなんて
Does Kusunoki Mia actually exist? Had the police ever officially announced the identities of the group dive victims? I mean, Bon and Sua and them, they recognized that Mia died, right? I mean, the parents certainly didn't. Since she was a minor, they would have just called her Girl A or something, right? Or
ユアに
did
双子の
you
妹なんて本当に
really
いたの
have a twin sister, Yua? If she didn't, that's going to require some very serious explanations and plot hole spackle. While it was certainly possible that someone named Kusunoki Mia had existed and had died in the group dive, it was also possible that they were completely unrelated to Kusunoki Yua, the person standing in front of me right now, also potentially possible. They could have simply been someone with an extremely similar name.
いるわ。
She exists! Suddenly Yua wrapped her hands around my neck. Her fingers were oh so slender, and yet they harbored a terrifying amount of strength within them. I couldn't breathe.
いたわよ。
She existed!
ミヤちゃんは確かにいた。
Mia-chan existed. I know she did.
はっきり覚えてるもの。
I remember her clear as day.
証明
Can you prove it? Yua's grasp weakened. Yeah, could you not kill me?
自分は
Can you
DID じゃないって
prove
証明
that
でき
you
る
don't have DID? We'll
楠
just
木
turn
ミヤ
it
じゃない
around
って
on her. Can you
証明
prove
で
that
きるの
you aren't Kusunoki Mia? I, for one, couldn't prove that I wasn't my alter ego. After all, the only way to prove that I wasn't Shogun would have been for him to show up next to me.
できるわ。
I can prove it. Can you now? Yua took her hands off my neck. She let the notebook fall to the floor.
みやちゃんにはほくろがあった。
Mia-chan had a mole. Uh-oh. Yua slowly began to remove her uniform's top. She's going to have the same mole, isn't she?
左胸の下、そこにほくろがあった。
Just under her left breast.
私にはない。
She had a mole there, and I don't. Well, she unbuttoned her blouse one button at a time, her hands trembling impatiently as she did. And there's a mole. Also a scene I don't need to... Yeah, that wasn't necessary. But there's a mole. Let's focus on the mole. She didn't stop there. She went on to remove things she didn't really need to. She fumbled around searching for a certain spot on her skin. I searched too, with my eyes. I'll bet you did. And just under her left breast was a mole.
ある。
It's there.
あるよ。
There's one there.
どうして
But why?
私には
I
ほくろはないはずな
shouldn't
の。
have a mole there. So has this been Mia the entire time?
私、
Who am I? Yua's face grew pale as a ghost, and her lips trembled in fear. Her eyes swam in place, gazing into the abyss as she wrapped her arms around herself. She didn't even care that she was still half naked.
私はユア。
Why is every single... How many of these character endings are going to involve half-naked characters? I am Yua.
私はずっといい子。
I'm a good girl. I've always been a good girl.
みやちゃんはずっと悪い子。
Mia-chan's always been the difficult one.
私はずっといい子にな
I
り
always wanted to be the good girl.
みやちゃんはユアちゃんが大好き。
Mia-chan loved Yua-chan.
ユアちゃんはみや
Yua-chan
ちゃんが
was
心配で。
worried about Mia-chan. And so they switched places at the restaurant? Her ramblings gradually turned even more incoherent. I was pretty freaked out. But I knew I couldn't just abandon her and make a run for it. I knew full well exactly what mental state she was in, because I, until only a moment ago, have been in the same exact one. Also, I'm still tied down. From the moment Yua had told me I had DID, I'd been suffering from non-stop anxiety, instability. So I really did understand. I knew what it was like to feel like your entire existence was one step away from crumbling to dust. I didn't know if she was suffering from DID or if it was something else entirely. But what I did know was that there was something wrong with her, and there always had been. I knew people could be two-faced, but she was far, far too good at it. It was still hard to believe that she'd been acting when we first met. Again, because she does seem like she has two different personalities. There's meek Yua and there's forceful Yua. The difference between her back then and her when she snapped was like night and day. So much so that it didn't even feel like the same person.
ユアは
Do you
DID なんだ。
have DID, Yua?
違う。
No!
といた。
She existed! I know she existed! I know Mia-chan existed! I still think she did. But I think I think Yua's the one who died. I'm starting to get that impression. Still covering her breast with one arm, Yua fished for something in the top she'd just taken off. You can put your bra back on, it's fine. She then took out her phone, hit a few buttons, and showed it to me.
見て。
See?
ここにいるでしょ。
She's right there! Is this going to be a picture of both of them or a picture of one of them?
私たちがいるでしょ。
The two of us are right there! Show me the picture. Okay, there we go. So there is two of them. The question is, which one is which? I guess Yua has to be the one in the Sume Academy uniform. But Yua's the one with the glasses. Mia does not wear glasses. She did exist. There were definitely two people on the screen there, and the image didn't look edited either. The two looked eerily similar in that picture, although they were twins. The only difference was that one had glasses and the other didn't. Even their hairstyle was the same.
私は私を
I am me.
私はここにいる。
I'm right there.
君はどっちなんだ。
Which one are you?
私は
I'm... She pointed to the one on the left. What? Third melt? Right at that moment, the floor started shaking violently. An earthquake? It's even bigger than the last one. Man, we've been here a week. I was struck with a violent ringing in my ears. It was such an intensely shrill, resonant sound, my head felt like it was about to burst open. This is either third melt or Yua is starting to have a delusion, and we know she's a DI sword wielder. And I feel like that noise might be an indication of that. Yua grabbed her head and fell to her knees. I wanted to do the same, but my hands were tied up, so I couldn't. It felt like my ears were being pierced by thousands upon thousands of needles. And then... Third melt? Or something else? This looks like a third melt. I was hit by an enormous impact, and a blinding light dyed my vision completely white. Okay.
あの日、私たちは入れ替わった。
The two of us switched places that day, as we suspected. At the Shibuya McD, a large wave of students arrived as soon as evening hit. I could hear the high-pitched voices of high school girls joyfully chatting away with one another. I took a moment to look out the window, and then I took out my phone. It was now 5:02 p.m. on September 7th. 2 minutes past the time she was supposed to be here, so this is the day of the group dive. I took a bite out of my chicken sandwich, feeling a little bit annoyed.
ごめん、みやちゃん。
Sorry I'm late, Mia-chan. Didn't mean to have you wait on me. Yua-chan appeared, tray in hand, and sat down in front of me. I let out a small sigh, so now we're actually getting the perspective of Mia. I was not expecting that.
待った。
Well, you did.
5分くらいおまけしてほしい
Come
な。
on, cut me some slack, Mia-chan.
みやちゃんも
It was only like
チキンだ
5 minutes.
私もだよ。
Oh, you ordered a chicken sandwich? So did I. She pointed to the chicken sandwich on her tray. The two of us were twins, so it was only natural that we'd have the same preferences. She really didn't need to point out every little time that we had something in common, but she happily did so anyway.
みやちゃんとこうして知り合
Again,
いが
this
あ
is
る
from
って
Mia's point of
初め
view.
てだよね。
This is the first time we've ever met up in Shibuya, right, Mia-chan? I didn't go to school in Shibuya, and the two of us saw each other at home all the time, so we just didn't have many reasons or opportunities to meet up in Shibuya. That was all there was to it.
私にお願いしたいことって
So,
何？
what did you want to ask me again?
私にできること
Just
なら
ask away.
何でも言ってね。
Anything's on the table. I took the last bite of my chicken sandwich, sipped some of my iced tea, and then I leaned toward Yua-chan.
実は
Okay, so truth is, I actually got somewhere to be after this. So we're gonna try to make Mia a little more blunt and less polite-ish than Yua to try to separate them. Okay, so truth is, I actually got to be somewhere to be. I screwed up the line again. Okay, so truth is, I've actually got somewhere to be after this.
彼氏？
Ooh, a date?
そんなんじゃない。
No, nothing like that. I'm just meeting up with some people I've never actually met in person before.
タッチって何？
Some? How many people are you planning to meet?
4人かな。
Around 4, I think.
どういう関係なの？
How do you know them?
ネットで知り合った人。
I met them online, but don't worry, not on anything shady. We just started talking on this message board for anime fans and stuff.
へえ。私
Oh, wow.
インターネットなんて
I pretty much never use the internet, so I don't really know how it works.
ネットで知り合うことってよくある
Is making friends online that common? Is that a difference? Because we've seen Yua on the internet. Hell, she was at the internet cafe that one time.
まあね。でも
Kinda.
オフ会は私も初め
Point
て。
is, it's my first time going to an offline meet, and to tell you the truth, I'm a little...
みえちゃん人見知りだもんね。
You're worried you're going to be too shy?
人見知りじゃない。
No, that's not it, and I'm not shy. It's just that I don't really fit in for the most part, so I don't know if I'll mesh well with the rest of them, I guess.
そういうことにしておい
If
て
you say so. Either way, are you sure you're going to be okay?
初めての人たち
Will you
相手
be
に
comfortable talking to
うまく話せ
people
そう
you just met?
本当は会おうと思ってたんだ
I
けど。
thought I was, and I really want to try, but truth is, now that it's almost here, I'm
怖くなっちゃったんだ。
having second thoughts.
めんどくさくなっただけ。
It just seems really hard, but canceling at the last minute would be a really sucky thing to do, so...
私が代わりに行けばいいのね。
So you want me to go in your place? Yua-chan was really perceptive. She'd understood what I was trying to say before even finishing my sentence. Usually that was more annoying than it was helpful, but this time I was glad that I didn't have to explain everything.
そういうこと。
Yeah,
お願い。
can you do that for me?
別にいいけど。
I don't mind, but are you sure that's what you want? This is a great chance for you to make some friends. And maybe go jump off a building.
そんな小学生みたいな扱い
Hey,
しない
don't treat
で
me
よ
like some grade schooler. I don't need to make friends, and I don't want to make friends.
もうみやちゃんは本当
For
に
goodness sake, Mia-chan, you really are stubborn as can be. Well, So Mia was the stubborn one, eh?
言ってくれる？
It's kind of interesting that if you think about it, we've never actually met Yua. For all this talk about how Yua is, this is how Mia is. Yua has never actually... This is our first time seeing Yua. Actually, literally.
わかった。
Yeah, I can. I just have to turn into you for a little while, right? Alright, world, say hello to the new Kusunoki Mia.
そこまでしなくてもいいけど。
You don't have to go that far.
どうせならとことんやった方が面白いじゃ
But
ない。
it's so much more fun that way.
制服も入れ替えよ
Oh,
うよ。
I know. Let's swap uniforms.
なんでそんなにはしゃいでるの？
Why are you so invested in this?
みやちゃんから頼み事されるなんて。
It's not often you ask me for a favor, Mia-chan, so I'm in a really good mood.
ゆあちゃん、バカみたい。
Oh, you're such a dork.
どうせバカなお姉さんです
But of course, for it is I, the dorkiest of all dorks, who also happens to be your big sister.
ほら、そうと決まれば。
So come on, move your butt. Let's go change. Yua-chan forcefully pulled me by the hand. And as we thought, we went to the private bathroom, and after a couple of minutes, we'd swapped all clothing and personal effects.
みやちゃん、水面の制服似合うね。
Wow, Mia-chan, you really make the Sume uniform pop.
でもどっちがどっち
Mom and Dad would totally have a hard time telling who's who.
あ、でもメガネかけてたらいっぱい
Oh no, I just realized, if I wear my glasses, we'll be found out immediately. Here, I'll just take them off. Oh, wait, maybe that's not exactly the best idea. I can't see anything.
初対面の相手なんだから。
It's not like they know what I look like. I've never met them before, so really, you don't have to go that far.
もうまだ言ってるし。
You're still saying that? Listen, the meetup's starting real soon, so let's use the time we've got left to make this totally perfect. I don't know a thing about anime, though. What should I talk about?
適当に相槌打ってればいいよ。
Just go with the
どうせ
flow.
いっぱいこっきりしか会
There
わ
are
ない人
people
たち
you'll
も
only
いるし
meet once anyway.
そんなことないよ。
Sure, but it doesn't have to be that way. This is a huge opportunity to meet people. You can make some real lasting friends. Heck, maybe you can even get a boyfriend.
興味ない。
Not interested. Also, very optimistic of you, considering how this goes
ある
down.
くせになかったら
You totally
なん
are.
てしないもの。
You wouldn't have agreed to go otherwise.
うるさいな。
Shut up, I hate you.
頑張って。
Alright, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make a good impression on everyone. Time to show the world how awesome Kusunoki Mia is.
本当にそういうのいいって
You
ば。
really don't need to worry about that. If she did that, it'd be even harder for me to go the second time. I just wasn't as sociable as she was. Welp,
それじゃ行ってくるね。
on that note, time to get
よ
going.
ろしく。
Thanks,
そこまで
Yua-chan.
頑張らなくていいか
And
ら。
seriously, you don't need to go crazy out there. An okay impression is good enough, okay?
はいはい。
Yeah, I know.
みやちゃん。
See you later, Mia-chan. Yua-chan smiled and waved goodbye, wearing my uniform, holding my bag. And then she disappeared into the crowds of Shibuya as none other than Kusunoki Mia. Well then. That had been the last time I'd ever seen Yua-chan. I then had gone home, waiting for her to come back, only to see that case on the news. So every time we saw that case and we saw the video and everything else, we were really seeing Yua and what happened to her. Meanwhile, third melt, Crate's seen better days. When I came to, my headache was so bad it felt like it was splitting in two. The first thing I realized was that I was pinned under my bed. The second was that the bed had fallen on top of me. So not only was my head about to burst from the pain, but my back was too under the weight of the bed. The only thing I could move were my eyes, which allowed me to witness the sheer devastation of my room. Hi, Mia. Yua, a.k.a. Mia, was slumped against the wall, staring off in a daze. She'd been half naked before the earthquake hit, but it seemed like she put her clothes back on. Thank goodness. Also, when on earth would Yua have had a chance to write "Whose eyes are those eyes" over and over again in her diary, given the order of events here? Before, she'd been completely topless while also keeping her glasses on, which had honestly brought some life back into me. I'll bet it did, but now her glasses had fallen to her feet. The lenses were cracked. Yeah, you can just see fine without them, can't you? Help me.
紐
Untie me. It took nearly everything in me, but I managed to fight through the headache and call out to Yua. And with the most empty eyes, she looked at me.
思い出したの。
I remember. Literally, who cares? I don't give a shit about what you remember. Just untie me already. I can't move into this thing.
思い出したのよ。
I finally remember. Yua slowly got up and easily untied the tight knot. Almost too easily, in fact, considering how dark it was and how she wasn't wearing her glasses. Yeah, no kidding. Finally a free man, I managed to slip out from under the bed. But that was about as far as I went. My head felt as if it was being cracked open, just like it had during the previous earthquakes. Even standing up felt impossible, so I endured the pain on all fours.
ゆあちゃんだったのよ。
It was Yua-chan. Yua was once again mumbling something in a low voice.
集団ダイブで死んだのは。
The one who died
Mia
during the
じゃない。
group dive. Was it
Yua-chan
Mia? It was Yua-chan.
ユア、
Yua?
何を
What are you...
私は、
Oh, that
Yua-chan
psycho
ね。
look on her face again. I'm not Yua. A wry smile spread across Yua's lips.
私は、ミアよ。
I'm Mia.
自分を、ゆあ
I
ち
had
ゃん
only
だって思い
convinced
込んでただ
myself
け。
that I was Yua-chan.
あの日、私たちは入れ替わ
The
って、
two of us switched places.
そ
that
れで
day.
ゆあちゃんは死んだ。
And then Yua-chan died.
私
It
が
was
死ぬはずだった
supposed to
の
be
に。
me. Suddenly the expression on Yua's face disappeared, complimenting the empty eyes that had yet to leave her, and then she extended her hand toward me.
西条くん、
Nishida-kun,
もう、将軍のことなんて、
I don't
Totally
care about
different.
Shogun anymore.
結局、
In the end,
ゆあちゃんは私が死
I
な
was
せた
the
よう
one
な
who
ものだ
killed
から。
Yua-chan. I let her die.
ねえ、一緒に、
Would you be willing to come with me? Where are we going?
どこへ
Yeah, where?
ゆあちゃんが死んだ場所、
To the place where Yua-chan
一緒に
died.
来てくれるだけでいい。
I just want you to come with me. No. We don't need a sequel to that. This is
お
unnecessary.
願い。
You could go. You're good. We're fine here. Please. I didn't know why exactly she was asking me this, but I had an idea. An idea that soon became a realization. It's the same idea Psy'Min Sezz. Yua, no Mia, was planning to die. I had no idea whether or not I should stop her. It was probably too late for me to say anything that might reach her. And so I took Mia's hand and went to pull myself up. No, I'm good. I'm just going to have a minute. I felt a stabbing pain in my head. I pictured my eyes being dyed a scarlet red. The throbbing pulsation of the blood vessels inside my head reverberated throughout my entire body. It hurt too much to move. I didn't have the strength.
歩ける？
Can you walk? Mia supported my body with her shoulder, so now we're just calling her Mia.
歩いてくれないと困るわ。
I want you to come with
一
me.
緒に来てほ
If
し
you
いの。
can't walk, then we have a problem.
私を助けると思って。
I think you can save
お
me.
願い。
Please. Is that the objective? I'm worried she's going to kill both of us. Also, what is the condition of the building that she jumped off of? Because there was an earthquake, if you hadn't noticed. With my body supported by Mia, the two of us began walking in the direction of Shibuya. Shibuya had transformed into a city of death. Everywhere you looked, corpses were strewn across the ground. Some were covered in blood, some had their limbs severed, and some had their heads crushed. Not even a shred of human dignity could be seen in the absolute hellscape spread out before us. Not a single glimmer of the city's former glory remained. The only things it held now were death, ash, and despair. Nothing more. Huge cracks tore through the road. Large scars indicative of how it could all come crashing down at any moment. Huge chunks of debris had fallen from the crumbling buildings, blocking our way. It was difficult to even walk in a straight line. But none of that was enough to make us lose focus of our goal. Mia and I marched on, completely disregarding the cries for help around us. Our destination was the building towering above in the distance. Cornelius Tower. The tower was still standing. The outer walls were crumbling in certain spots, but the structure itself had more or less tanked the earthquake. It still stood straight and tall. As far as we could tell from the outside, it seemed that the lights were off on every floor. Maybe everyone had evacuated, leaving the building vacant and abandoned. Naturally, the lobby was completely empty. There didn't seem to be any electricity either, so the elevator didn't work. Our only option to get to the rooftop would be the emergency stairs. Hey, there's some Steins Gate stairs going on. When the details behind the group dive case had appeared online, I had done a little digging into the building. Cornelius Tower stood at 184 meters tall, with 41 floors above ground. Well, if you weren't exhausted before, you will be now. There was absolutely no way I could climb that many stairs. Not when I couldn't even walk straight with this headache. And yet, Mia kept on supporting me. Leaning on her, we climbed the stairs step by step, sweat dripping down our foreheads. I think Mom and Dad were just trying to protect me by calling me Yua-chan. Did they? Or maybe they were even confused. Maybe that's why they started treating me like Yua, and why they considered Mia dead. She was talking to herself. I listened along in silence. Well, she probably didn't need me to listen. She was just talking aloud, and I just happened to be there. It was always like that. I was the brat no one wanted, and she was perfect. My parents always treated me like I was some kind of tumor to the family. So why did they decide that Mia died there? Well, probably because they would have preferred it that way. Though that's entirely my fault. It's my fault for convincing myself I was Yua-chan. It's always like this with twins in video games, isn't it? There's always a switch, which is why I should die, just as Yua-chan did. We need to talk her out of it. What kind of person was Yua? She was someone I looked up to. I was jealous of her. Sometimes I even got mad about how much easier things were for her. But I never hated her. Far from it. I loved her. I loved my sister so much. Can't relate. She was the only one who understood me. The only person in the whole world. Her smile always made me so happy, no matter how hard things were for me. She was always worried about me. I always felt so guilty about it. And in the end, I started acting distant with her. But she didn't care. She was always so nice to me, no matter how I treated her. Yua-chan. Mia kept climbing the stairs, tears gently streaming down her face. Were they tears of regret, tears of sorrow, or tears of guilt? That I couldn't tell. We gotta be getting close to the end here. We're on the roof. The wind was stronger than I thought it would be on the helipad. A panorama of Shibuya's nightscape spread out right before our eyes, but now its former brilliance was nowhere to be found. The city had been fully engulfed in darkness. One could just barely make out landmarks like Tokyo Tower, Roppongi Bills, or other buildings situated in Shinjuku in the distance. The Shibuya beneath our feet was veiled in complete and utter silence. There was very little light, allowing darkness complete reign over the ruined city. If it were noon, then Shibuya's new form would be nothing less than stupefying. Nishijou-kun, if you wanted to. Mia gently let me go, retracting the arm that had been supporting me. I immediately sank down to the ground, not a single ounce of energy left in my legs. Will you fly with me? I don't want to fly with you! No! No, I do not. No, I do not want this WestJet experience. Mia stared deep into the night sky and the dark night. Fierce gusts of wind sent her long hair fluttering in the sky, hiding her expression from view. That was when I realized. You just realized this now? Mia had come here to jump, to follow in her sister's footsteps. With that in mind, my answer was clear. Hell no. I don't want to die. Why would I want a double suicide with the girl who imprisoned me? Yeah, that Stockholm Syndrome dried up real quick. I figured you'd say that. One step at a time, Mia walked toward the edge of the heliport, facing the strong wind head on. Oh, right. About that Sarah-chan figure I ordered with you. Suddenly she stopped and turned around. I went and picked it up. She's so cute and sexy too. I really, really love it. So much so that I even keep it on my desk in my room. A transient smile spread over Mia's lips. Of all times for her to have said that, why now? I don't care what you say. You'll still not get no sympathy from me. That's okay. I don't need any sympathy. Well then, goodbye, Nishija-kun. The boy who killed me. I'm going to where Yua-chan is now. Well, we're not in much of a position to stop this. So we're having a perspective switch. What Nishija-kun had just said was very reasonable. It was strange, though, and it made me feel lonely. There was this heart-rending pain in my chest. In the end, I had never been afforded the opportunity to confirm whether or not he was Shogun. Maybe he had been telling the truth, and I was the one who'd gotten it all wrong. But even if I wasn't wrong, there was no point in holding a grudge against him now. If only I hadn't asked Yua-chan to switch places with me back then. If only I had just gone to the offline meet myself, then Yua-chan would still be alive. Yua-chan hadn't deserved to die. She'd had so many friends. Our parents had loved her more than anything, and she'd been the smartest, most beautiful girl I'd ever met. And yet, she had died anyway. Kusunoki Yua had died anyway. And when she had, Kusunoki Mia had disappeared along with her. She'd vanished into thin air, becoming a ghost. That was the choice I had made back then. I could no longer tell whether I was alive or dead. All I knew was that Yua-chan wasn't here anymore, so I'd rather be dead. I stood at the edge of the helipad. What's going to interfere with this? Or are we just going to have a really bad ending, where Yua-chan and the other four had jumped off that night? Looking down made me feel dizzy. The whole nightscape was pitch black. All the lights in the city had gone out, and yet even in that darkness I could still tell just how high up I really was. I wondered how Yua-chan had felt when she jumped off of here. She had probably been terrified. I'm sorry, Yua-chan. I'm sorry you had to go through something so terrifying because of me. I'll be going too. Very soon. It's kind of funny how this sort of parallels what the rucksack guy tried to get us to do in the hospital. Only for him to find out, no, that was actually correct. Well, I guess technically the rucksack guy, they can't really do very specific delusions. They can just show you, like, the delusion that you wished for. So I guess that was sort of a premonition of what was actually the truth. Because the things that happened as we were talking to that delusion in the hospital, they weren't necessarily wrong based on this ending. I will take the pain that you endured, the pain that I alone was supposed to feel, and engrave it onto my body, Yua-chan. I took a deep breath. My heart and mind were at peace. I wasn't afraid of dying. I spread my wings. My arms lay in the empty air. I closed my eyes. Are we going to grab her from behind? Nope. And then I stepped forward into the bottomless abyss before me. Or... never mind. And with nothing there to support me anymore, I fell. My whole world turned upside down. There was nothing left to chain me back. even though I was in free fall. It almost felt like I was floating. I could use a flower bed right about now. Floating amid the rumbling of the wind. The ground was rushing toward me, the very same asphalt that Yua-chan had crashed into 2 months back. The hardened tar that had crushed her bones, ruptured her organs, and sprayed her blood and gray matter across itself. Oh, now you don't want to die. Are you going to hallucinate something? Maybe she'll save herself. I don't want to die. Just a moment ago, I hadn't been afraid to die, but the second I had lost control of my body, I'd been overcome with a tremendous sense of dread. I don't want to die. Even if Yua-chan had died, I still wanted to live. This was just my survival instincts taking over. I screamed. I screamed from the bottom of my soul. I desperately reached out my hand to the distant night sky above me. I knew there was no one that could grab onto it. Well, you might grab a sword. But I reached out all the same. There was no end to my screams. I pleaded. She might die, she might not. I don't want to die. But nobody heard me. Nobody grabbed my hand. I simply fell, with the earth coming closer and closer. This better be one hell of a flower bed. Never mind. And who was that? Who did you fall in front of? Huh? What? I had felt my body shatter into a million pieces, but that feeling had disappeared soon after. When I came to, I found myself collapsed on the roof of Cornelius Tower. Nishiju-kun was in front of me. He still wasn't looking at me, but he was reaching his hand out even so. Did we save her? Why? I had definitely jumped, no doubt about it. I had definitely taken that nearly 180-meter dive and smashed right into the ground. But now I just sat there, staring at Nishiju-kun's hand, utterly dumbfounded. I even forgot to wipe away the tears streaming down my face. You done? You done? You finished? You done? Nishiju-kun's words were blunt and curt. I'd be in deep shit if you died on me. It looked like I pushed you off. I don't want people to think I'm a criminal. I was falling. I jumped off. How am I... Wasn't that just a delusion? Oh, she imagined it? A delusion? You're telling me all those sensations, all that pain, was just a delusion? That's impossible. It felt so real. Hey, Nishiju-kun. Yua-chan must have felt that same pain when she died. But I thought I was ready to go through the exact same pain as she did. But I just kept thinking how much I didn't want to die. Well, I was the one who was supposed to die. But as I was falling, I didn't want to. I can't jump again. Yeah, no doubt. I can't. After feeling that pain firsthand, I'm too scared. I can't jump again. Well, solved that. Oh, what do I do now? How about not jump? I have a suggestion. You already died once. Just now. What? Nishiju is talking like he's got his sword already. He's talking like he knows things that he hasn't really had a chance to know yet. You already got to know what Yua felt. Isn't that enough? I think it's fine to start over again and live your life as Kusunoki Miya from now on. You can live to the fullest for Yua's sake. Our boy found some wise words all of a sudden from after being really exhausted. Is he just saying something that he remembers from an eroge or something? Wouldn't surprise me. This is a bit of a sudden ending. Thank you, Sob. I reached for the hand that he'd extended out to me and took it. It was so very, very warm I could feel his body heat through his palm. A warmth so comforting, I felt my hands stop shaking. That's it? We somehow managed to get a romantic ending out of all that. I guess we did. Nishiju's character during those last couple of minutes was a little bit weird. It really seemed like the sort of thing he would have said after talking with Shogun later, but for right now, still being the sad sack he was before, it's a little surprising that he did that. So did he create the delusion? Did he give Mia a delusion of Yua's death so he could be like, okay, well, now you've experienced it. A, you're even. B, you're too scared to jump now, so, you know, let's go get Crunchy Coons or something. Fetishism Arc? What the hell is that? I didn't notice the name of that song before. Well, anyway. Interesting stuff. A little predictable. We kind of suspected that this was actually Mia the whole time. It is very interesting, though. I wonder how it's going to play into later things, because Mia may have to have this revelation during the true ending? Not actually sure. But I definitely prefer this to the Nanami ending. Of course, we had to throw in the fan service. We had to show some boob. But, well, I guess we're just used to it at this point, aren't we? Unnecessary. You didn't have to put the mole there. Could have left the bra on. Could have left it there. Could have left it on. Totally fine. Well, you guys are just adorable together. But again, it is curious that we never actually met Yua. All the things we learned about the type of person Yua was actually the type of person Mia was. Achievement unlocked. Reached the sun and moon ending. Funnily enough, the achievement that I got from Steam was reach the moon and sun ending. So somebody fucked up. Anyway, I guess we got that down. 2 endings. Sun and moon, daydream, as well as the default ones. Alright, 3 more girls to go. I'm not sure who's next. I think it's Ayase? I feel like it's Ayase. I know that Rimi is the last one we do. But I'm pretty sure Ayase is next. And then I guess Senna and Kozue in whatever order. But I'm pretty sure Rimi is our last one. And she's kind of our default heroine. So that sort of makes sense. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We are inching ever closer to the real ending. And I am curious. Ayase should have a very interesting story. Because she's gone through quite a bit, and she's rather cold, usually, so what we learn from her may be interesting. What we learn from Kozue and Senna may also be interesting as well. I'm kind of looking forward to most of the remaining characters. Rimi, we've kind of got a beat on, but we may get some plot out of that one too, so we'll see what happens. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Take care, and I will see you little hit-nobodies next time. Again, make sure you're following me on all this stuff. I want to see you on the Twitch stream sometime. Come say hi. Let me know how you're enjoying this. I need to go get some coffee because I've been talking for 3 hours. Later.